Hey, what's up? Welcome to One Crack News. Your boy Carcino here. Let's talk about it real fast, because it's only going to get me upset. As I'm trying to recover from this early cold from the change of weather that hit me from day one, as soon as that weather came, I was just like, man, it's kind of warm to be January. Boom! I was hit with an anvil. Now, let's take a look at what's been going on in the NFL with the black coaches. Where have they been? Where are they going? I mean, what year are we in? 2019? 2019, and here we are talking about black coaches. In 2019, we should be talking about ownership. What group could we get? It's just a sad affair in most people's estimation. What's happening? Because the NFL, to me, seems to be mostly biased towards a certain agenda. They're biased to the plan that they have to use the Rooney rule, where they have to interview an African American candidate. They just want to go right on in and hire their buddy. So they go through the process and pretend to care about doing an interview when they already have in mind the person that they're going to hire, and they end up doing it anyway. So then, instead of hiring the perfect person for the job, they just hire somebody who they like or know or who's their friend. And these are the things that we try to preach against, especially if you want to talk about winning. How come the players that predominantly normally control the game and dominate the game with their athleticism, most of those guys are African American in the NFL? It's just factual that they go out and recruit more and more African Americans because athletically these guys are replacing a lot of positions on the field that were played, some by Caucasians, some by African American. Now, it's very rare you see even a safety that's Caucasian or a cornerback. I think Seahorn was the last white cornerback there's been in the NFL. They don't exist. So with your game dominated and controlled mostly by African Americans, you're basically saying they can't teach the game. They're not mentally equipped enough to know plays. When the majority of them know plays, call better plays than some of you have. We've seen it. Tony Dungy won a Super Bowl with the Colts, right? You saw John Gruden win a Super Bowl with a team that was built by Tony Dungy. Dungy gets over the hump with the Colts and took a team that haven't won anything in a long time to the Super Bowl. Quite amazing, bro. Then you have no respect put on his name. They very rarely mention Tony Dungy, who was actually the coach they liked. very knowledgeable about the game, and he's got to break down all the details on, when he's breaking down the game, when he's working for the studio. They like him. But you rarely hear Tony Dungy's name mentioned. When they mention great coaches and everything else, it's very rare, unless he's on that show. They really don't mention Tony Dungy in the name of great coaches in the NFL. From defensive coordinator to head coach. I thought he did tremendous with teams that were not picked to be in a winning environment. Like, they were never... He had Tampa and the Colts. And he was, Minnesota's Vikings defensive coordinator for all those years. But 4 black coaches fired like they were targeted. When a coach gets fired, it's either something very dramatic happened or something out of the ordinary happened. Now, I like to be optimistic here and just say, well, 4 coaches got fired. They probably should have, gotten fired. Marvin Lewis has been there 16 years. Every year you could find a year to fire Marvin Lewis. So Marvin Lewis was fired, 16 years of holding that job at the behest of the fans and everyone else. Marvin Lewis was gone. Okay. Todd Bowles is not the reason the Jets are losing. Todd Bowles is actually a very good coach. The Jets were playing fairly well, but you guys have him starting a rookie, Sam Darnold, as a quarterback. And in that rookie's very first year, y'all throw his head coach under the bus and judge him for this year. How many coaches get judged off their first year with a rookie quarterback? It's almost unheard of. And when people see Adam Gase become the Miami Dolphins' new head coach, I mean, not the new head coach, but to get fired by the Dolphins and be hired right away, it's like, whoa, what just happened here? The Jets just hired Adam Gase? What did you see in Adam Gase? Not to take anything away from Adam Gase. It's not his fault. But it's like a white quarterback who just leaves a head coaching job goes right into another head coaching job. A black head coach loses his job. He's into the unemployment line, or maybe he can coach college somewhere. From a head coaching position. Adam Gase, I know Adam because he used to coach the Chicago Bears. He was working with the quarterbacks coach, basically. I wouldn't even say offensive coordinator, but he was good with working with Jay Cutler. They had a good relationship. He brought in Jay Cutler, when Cutler was in retirement mode. His quarterback got hurt. He brought in a guy who was basically semi-retired just because he knew the system. Told him could he get in shape. And threw him out there, and Jay's like, look, thanks for giving me the shot, man. I'm done. Jay Cutler went out there and played his last season in Miami. Got another check. And did what he did. He went out there and gave it what he could, but he was done. But they didn't judge Adam Gase for that. Adam Gase got to come right back again. And they realized that Adam Gase just probably wasn't best for the role, to fit for the job. Vic Fangio, and was sought after by everybody. He interviewed for the Chicago Bears job. He didn't get it. One of the top defensive coordinators in the NFL, period, is now leaving the Bears after the Bears had a surprising #1 defense in the NFL. And everyone said, well, where is all the black coaches gone? Well, mostly to the unemployment line. 5 out of the 8 coaches fired over and since the last season were black. And so far, none of them have been rehired as head coaches in the league. Okay, the Chargers, thank God they're winning, because this black guy would be in the hot seat. And they want Mike Tomlin fired. And he won a Super Bowl. The news Wednesday, when the Broncos hired Fangio, people were like, hey, wait a minute. The Jets are getting gazes. They're not even giving the minorities a chance. Denver just fired their black coach, Van Jones, and they're ready to move on. But to them, it's not a new problem with the NFL. Do you realize that the assistant coaches, very few are African American? So even the blacks that have jobs as assistant coaches, as far as quarterback coach or line, they're not even hiring as part of their staff. They're not even hiring blacks. So what is that? Now, the Rooney Rule was a step forward for a long time. And in the NFL last month said that they're going to announce changes to try to strengthen the Rooney Rule. Harry Carson, Fritz Pollard, Alliance, all these guys got behind it and helped make that a reality. And at the last season's hiring cycle, something had to be done. Last year's hiring cycle, only one of the replacements was black. These enhancements need to be done to strengthen the Rooney Rule and ensure that it applies, that they give truly candidates of color a fair chance. But I guess that rule must be warming up, because this year we're not seeing any parts of it. 13 coaching hires in the NFL over 2 seasons. The only minorities hired Steve Wilkes, and he was fired by Arizona just after 1 year. The only 2 black coaches left in the NFL, which was at its peak in 2011, and when he had 8 coaches of color. Now there are only 2. And now we're going to get in a situation where people are going to be hiring people out of fear and out of color. I mean, Mike Tomlin shouldn't have to be sitting there doing interviews talking about black coaches. Well, when you see former Cardinals coach Bruce Arians, who's coming out of a one-year retirement at 66 years old to take over the Tampa Bay Bucks job. Bruce Arians is a old school coach. People think he's out of his date in time. He's 66 years of age, and he walks off a year sitting down, walks right into a head coaching job. And Mike McCarthy, who was with the Green Bay Packers, who won one Super Bowl with the Packers and was with Aaron Rodgers for I don't know how many up-teen years of working with Rodgers, has been there, and they have not gotten over the hump in all those years. He was finally fired once him and Rodgers wasn't seeing eye to eye anymore. And because of that, he decides to take the option to sit out this year while everyone's hiring. And next year he'll come back ready to coach. And you know what's going to be waiting for him? A head coaching job. One black coach in the last 13 years is a troubling trend in the league dominated by black players. Cynical or not, that's a number envisioned by the NFL when the Rooney Rule was put in place 16 years ago. Diversity has never been one of the NFL's strengths. And one of the biggest reasons is it's the most popular sport in America. And that's the truth. The NBA wants to give it a run for its money. They're trying. And they're almost in position to give the NFL a run for their money. But sports entertainment is not going to change until you start making changes in the personnel all the way around. Which isn't going to happen. They're going to give the illusion that it's going to happen. But it's not going to happen. So, with that being said, it's your boy Carcino. I'm out. Thanks for listening to One Crack News. I ended up making this long anyway. Didn't want to. But I just felt that I had to say something. Alright. I'm done.